Walking slow down my own street. Strangers smile when our eyes meet. Doesn't matter at all.
Welcome to the Kindness Matters podcast, a show that celebrates the powerful truth that kindness can change the world. Every week I aim to shine a light on people and organizations making a positive difference in their communities, proving that compassion, empathy, and connection still thrive, even in challenging times. This podcast is about more than good stories, though. It's about real impact. Through heartfelt conversations, inspiring acts, and everyday examples of humanity, the Kindness Matters podcast invites listeners to rediscover the power of kindness as a force for healing, growth, and genuine connection. If the message of this show resonates with you, please share it with your friends and family. Each share helps spread the light a little further, because when it comes to kindness, the ripple effect is limitless.
Voice of the crowd. I see neighbors helping.
Hey, hello, and welcome everybody to the show. Thank you so much for being here. And I've been saying this a lot lately, and I really mean it. I mean, we all, as people, as moms, as dads, as human beings, have a lot going on in our lives right now, and the fact that you chose to spend the limited amount of time that you have today purposefully listening to this podcast really makes me happy, and really makes me feel grateful. And I appreciate each and every one of you that tuned in. Thank you so much. And we have a fantastic show for you. I'm really excited. How many times can I say the word really?
As
In
many as you
one
want.
30-minute, 30-second? Yeah. Okay. My guest today is Tammy Ward. And Tammy served for 24 years with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police across Canada, all the way across in every province, I'm guessing, pretty close maybe. In general duty, major crime, domestic violence, and community relations. She now transforms lived experience into practical language that helps people communicate openly. Leaders respond with confidence, and stigma is replaced with support. Welcome to the show today, Tammy Ward. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
And the crowd goes wild. No, I really do. Talking to you before was really so eye-opening. And I think we're really going to have a good conversation, because for those of you that listen to the podcast on a regular basis, we've been doing kind of a series now. And what we're doing is pushing back, I want to say we're pushing back on the notion that compassion or empathy or kindness are soft skills or not needed or unnecessary, or fluff if you can afford to fit them in somewhere. And that's really not the case, right?
Not at all.
So talk to me a little bit. Oftentimes in your talks, because you're a public speaker, I think I mentioned that, but maybe not. That's what you do now. You're a public speaker. And oftentimes you talk about resilience and how does compassion play a role in building resilience, both personally and professionally.
Well, for me, I think a lot of it has to do with my upbringing. I mean, the way my parents brought me up. I don't see anybody as better than somebody else, regardless of whether you have money or not, or what color, what gender, whatever. I judge people on if you're nice or not. That's my standard. And I think if we use that standard, we'd be in a lot better place in our world. As a police officer, I can tell you firsthand some of the people that I've dealt with that most people would look down on are some of the kindest human beings I've met. Whereas some of the people who, for some reason or another, we look up to because they have the fancy cars and the nice suits, were some of the meanest, most arrogant
Yeah.
people that I ever met. For example, I had a man yell at me once when I pulled him over and asked me if I knew who the beep he was. And my answer was, "Nope, do you know who I am?" And he didn't appreciate my sense of humor. But it just goes to show that it doesn't matter. Like kindness, it can go so far.
Right. For sure. And you know what? I dived right into the questions, and maybe it would help our audience a little bit um, to figure out where you're coming from. Talk to me about your 24 years. That seems like a long time in
It
the
is.
RCMP.
Yeah, it's a long time in service.
And so now, for those of us that don't live in Canada, can you explain a little bit about what the RCMP is? Is it like the American FBI or just with fancier, redder clothes?
Kind of. No, we are like the FBI in the terms that we handle all federal statutes across Canada, just like the FBI does in the United States. The difference is that we also do provincial as well as municipal policing contracts. So you could work, for example, you could work in a federal drug unit that could be anywhere in Canada or even overseas, and you could, like me, be up in Nunavut and in a little Inuit village of approximately 400 people. So
Oh,
we
wow.
work everywhere across Canada. There's only two provinces that have their own provincial police forces, which is Ontario and Quebec. But other than that, we cover all across Canada.
Okay. So now, for like smaller towns that maybe didn't have the budget to hire a police force, you guys would step in that role. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yes. Any of our larger cities in Canada, they all have their own municipal police forces, just like in the United States.
Yeah. And here where I live, we're a small town, city, um, and we just don't have the budget. So we contract out with a county sheriff to do our
Yes.
policing. Same sort of thing, I guess. So when you, I'm sorry. Okay, so you have transitioned from frontline policing to speaking on resilience and mental wellness. Has your between those times, policing and speaking, has your definition of strength evolved?
Oh, definitely, definitely. I Before I left my career in policing, I had a couple of roles where I was doing a lot of public speaking. I was the officer in charge of Crime Stoppers for our province, so I was doing a lot of public speaking, making commercials, etc. And then with the domestic violence portfolio, I was doing a lot of teaching, public speaking. So the speaking part isn't new to me. It's just I was at a point in my career, I'd had some really bad things happen. And as a result of that, I have PTSD. And I just got to a point where I realized that I could still help people without wearing a uniform. And I made a decision to retire. And then I just started, well, I retired in time for COVID. What a way to start a speaking career. Hello, you can stay home with your dog.
Right? Did some of the speaking a lot of the speaking gigs just went viral, not viral, online, right?
Yes. So I did do a lot of that when I had the opportunities. That was interesting. I got to speak in some places that I haven't even been to physically ever. So that was, interesting. I spoke at a conference in Utah, which
Oh,
was put on by a social worker that I had met through a previous event. And yeah, so it's just trying to get myself out there now so that people know who I am and get to go and speak to people live. I find person to person is so much easier than on a screen, because on a
Yeah.
screen, it's like you're almost not real. You
Yeah.
only get what,
'Cause you're
you get dressed from the waist up and
yeah, pajama bottoms on the bottoms or what have you.
yoga pants.
Yeah. Yoga pants, that works too. That's fair. Um, so when you were in your 20 years, 20 plus years of leadership, how did practicing empathy impact your did it did it strengthen your ability to lead?
I think it did. For example, as a police officer, I can count on one hand the number of physical altercations I actually get into because of my ability to talk with people and de escalate situations instead of walking in with some complex or I'm better or I'm bigger, which I'm not, I'm little. But without any of that, when you meet people where they are, and you talk with and not at, or sometimes people when they are in crisis, the last thing they want is to listen to somebody talking at them.
Right.
Sometimes they just need to, I'm here, I will listen, just don't swear at me. And that just the ability to say, I will listen to you can totally change a situation.
Yeah, for sure. Um, and I think that's kind of a theme I keep coming back to in the show is just the ability to be there, be present, right? And
Mhm.
to listen can make all of the difference.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
And then the other thing for me, near the end or the latter part of my career, we had a shooting. We have 5 officers shot, 3 fatal, and I ended up taking over the team the men were killed on as their operational NCO, which meant I was dealing with a lot of people that had never policed in that area coming in as replacements, and then the people who were on shift during the shooting slowly coming back. And I was the girl who was just there supposedly for 2 weeks, because I was there during the incident. That 2 weeks got extended to a month. That month got extended to, "Can you stay for 3 more months?" And I asked the inspector at the time, I'm like, "Why me? Like, there's other people with my rank and, with experience and even more operational experience than me." And he said, it's not the experience I need. He said, "I saw what you did yesterday." And I was like, "Oh gosh, what did I do?" And
You
he
know
said, "When
that
I
in your
went
brain.
to the bullpen," he said, "I saw you speaking with this member who had just come back, and his best friend was one of the men that were murdered. And when I was speaking to him, I didn't even know I did it. But I had my hand on his back and I was rubbing his back as I was talking with him because, he's 6 foot something. So he was seated and I was standing. And he said, people in our career don't do that." And he goes, "I also heard a rumor that you offer the guys hugs." And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I do that sometimes." And the men will come in my office and close the door and talk to me. So what I did was totally outside the norm of policing where, suck it up, buttercup, me strong, to, do you need a hug? Do you want to come talk? And that was what they needed there was that, soft skill,
Sure.
but it's the compassion. It's like, I see you. You don't have to pretend that this isn't affecting you because honestly, if it's not affecting you, there's something wrong with you.
Good point. Very
Yeah.
good point. Yeah, if you can step away from that and just not be affected, yeah, then it's time to worry, right? It
Yeah.
sounds like
Oh, yeah.
that leader, um, kinda knew, the value of compassion or empathy. Have you ever had any leaders say to you, or who might worry that showing compassion might undermine their authority?
Oh, yes.
Is it just natural because of the work that you were doing? Is that kind of a heavily
I think it's just the bravado of, like, you don't talk about certain things. Um, which is why I want to talk about these things because
Right.
there's so many police officers in Canada and the US that die by suicide as opposed to in the line of duty. And that statistic needs to change. Like if we can't even call it what it is, like that is my biggest pet peeve with my former agency, off duty incident, unexpected death. No, call it what it is. Because when we don't call it what it is, it keeps that shame. It keeps the quiet. Like you can't talk about it because it's shameful. And that's why people are dying. And that's why I want to talk about it because the more silent we are and stoic, the more people are suffering. And I went through that and then worked my way through it. And that's why I want other people to know it's okay not to be okay. And it takes more strength to ask for help than it does to be quiet.
It absolutely does. You're absolutely right. Um, I can't even imagine 5 team members?
Yes.
Wow. And when I was looking over your information, you worked a lot in, um, domestic violence.
Yes, I did.
That to me is probably one of the most heartbreaking jobs, and it's also for a law enforcement officer to respond to a domestic violence. That's one of the most dangerous, is it not?
By far. By far. A lot of victims, when they call or their children call, they just want the violence to stop. They don't want their husband or their father to be hurt or arrested. They just want it to stop. So sometimes what can happen is the victim actually turns against the police.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
And sometimes you don't know what you're walking into either. You don't know how physical it is. You don't know if there's weapons in the house, if he has a knife. Like you're going in blind a lot of times.
Right. For sure. And that's what makes it so dangerous, is because you
Yeah.
don't know what you're gonna walk into. Was your ability to be empathetic or compassionate, was it helpful in those situations? How
Oh,
do how do you
definitely.
do that?
Um, I have my own experience, so I relate
I'm
very
not
well
asking
with
you to give away any trade secrets.
No, I've gone through it. So
Oh,
I can
oh,
speak
I'm so
to women
sorry.
on a level that's okay. I can speak to women on a level that I understand. And I've actually had a woman once who was very irate and wasn't gonna talk and everything else, and I told her, I understand," and she started to go off on me until she looked at me, and then she stopped and she said, "Oh, I'm sorry," and I said, "No, this is about you today," and she opened up and she talked to me because she saw me not as somebody in authority or somebody looking down, but somebody that was more of an equal, and when I say I understood, I could understand, and
Yeah,
that created that equality and safety for her to speak. And I think also being a woman creates a better dialogue. And no offense to any men, I've worked with some amazing men that are beautiful souls and would do anything to help another human. But if you are a woman who was just hurt or violated by a man, the last thing you want to do is sit with another man and tell them what was done to you. So
yeah,
there's that safety, that womanhood bond that some women, they're more likely or hopefully it's easier for them to open up and not feel judged or feel lesser or any of those things.
right, right. Yeah, no, and, that makes perfect sense. Are there a lot of female law enforcement doing that kinda job or working in that particular field of law enforcement? I I can't imagine because it seems to me that law enforcement is a very male-dominated
Definitely.
career path, right?
Mhm.
And I might be completely wrong, but,
Oh, no, you're so right.
um, so I can't imagine that you have a lot of female officers who would be available to respond to a domestic
No.
incident
Most
like that and be able to, talk to a victim.
Yes. Most of those calls come in as a 911 call.
Okay,
So it would be whatever car is the closest, whatever car is covering that area.
right.
So if there's a female in the car or not, I know when I first started my career, we had approximately 18, 19 people on my shift, and I was the only female.
Yeah,
So the
yeah,
probability, yeah. But I was with a really good team of guys, and I have a soft spot for animals, and we have collisions on highways with deer or moose, and sometimes you have to, unfortunately take take them out of their misery. And for me to shoot an animal just absolutely breaks my heart. I mean, I don't even eat meat, let alone be able to kill an animal.
right.
So we had this understanding on my team that if I got a call that involved an animal, I would do all the paperwork. But one of the boys would show up to take care of the animal for me, and if anybody else got a call where it was a sexual assault, domestic violence, I would help because I would want that. If it was me, I would want a woman to come and talk with me. So that was just an understanding on my
Okay.
team at that time that you got my back, I got yours when it comes to this. And that worked
Mm,
well. But it's not
yeah,
always that way, and people don't have that luxury.
right, right. So it's just an added bonus if you actually have. Yeah. Speaking of moose, and this story came out of completely nowhere. Several years ago, one time, just on a spur of the moment, I decided I was gonna drive up to Thunder Bay.
Oh,
Um, huh?
you would see some moose.
Okay. And I was struck by you've got signs along the road there that have a picture of a moose and it says "night danger." I thought that was the most badass thing I'd ever seen. Night danger.
It's
Are they
because
only
the
dangerous at night?
No, they're dangerous all the time.
Okay.
However, the difference is that with deer, raccoons, etcetera, when your headlights hit their eyes, you can see them. With the moose, you don't get that reflection.
Because
Also,
they are so hot, tall?
possibly that, but you don't get the
Huh.
eye. And
Fair enough.
if you hit a deer compared to a moose, survivability is higher. Um,
Yeah.
because the weight and the size and
Right.
everything else. And during daylight, you can kind of see them. So at nighttime, visibility is lesser. They're a dark coated animal.
Right. Right.
Like
That's
they sit
fair.
high. So you could be looking straight ahead and literally just looking under their legs.
Exactly. Exactly. Anyway, that nothing to do with compassion. It just reminded me when you said moose that I had that experience and I thought it was funny. So,
All I know is if you see a moose, aim for the back end of it because no one has ever seen those things back up.
oh.
Deer can go anywheres.
In northern Minnesota, we have moose more than we do down where I live. But so for those of you listening from that part of the country that has frequent moose sightings, good advice.
But somebody's going to message you and say, I saw one back up. That girl's wrong.
There was this loud beeping noise accompanied by beep, beep. Yeah, no. Oh dear. I had another question here. Oh, so it kind of had to do with burnout, which I would imagine happens frequently in the law enforcement field.
Yes.
Um, oh, okay. How do you respond to people who believe that compassion makes individuals more vulnerable to burnout or exploitation? That was going to be my question. Does it? I don't know that I've ever heard that before.
No, I don't think it would make you more susceptible to burnout. I think that it would be the opposite
Yeah.
because when you are more open and you're talking, and you're showing compassion, especially compassion to self, not just necessarily to others, then you're not just sucking it all in and staying silent. And eventually that capsule is going to break because you
Right.
keep holding so much inside. So I think when you have compassion for others as well as yourself and you vocalize it, I think that that can help us definitely from the
Right.
burnout. And I mean, there's always people who are going to manipulate you. Um,
Yeah.
I had a gentleman once I picked up who was homeless. I was taking him to a shelter and just kind of I said, "Do you want to I need a coffee. Let's go through the drive-through." I didn't have to do this. So I go through the drive-through, I got a coffee, I got him a coffee, and we're driving to the shelter and from the back seat I hear, "Gee, thanks for the coffee. It's not like you couldn't have afford it to buy me an F and this and that." And I was like, "What?" Like, so sometimes it doesn't matter how
Yeah.
you are,
Yeah.
people still expect more.
Yeah.
Um, but doesn't mean you have to stop.
No, it doesn't. Was it a Tim Hortons?
It was a surprise.
Is that the Canadian version of Starbucks? There's like one on every corner?
Yes, yes, but we
Yes.
do a large invasion of Starbucks now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
Of all the
okay, I don't
things we could have exported. Bah. Um, and so when you look towards the future of leadership, right? Because what what roles do you see empathy playing? Do you think more people will come along like your superior after the shooting who understand the need for empathy or compassion in the workplace? Or do you think it'll go we'll continue this downward slide of people thinking it's soft
hmm,
in the future?
I would hope that it would improve. I know that things have really changed from the beginning of my career to when I left my career. I know that resources are better now than they used to be. They're still not very good, but they are a little better. That there are more people like myself speaking up and speaking out,
Thank
which I
you.
think is huge. Um, because if we don't speak about it, then nobody else feels safe to talk about it. And that was one of the things I've said to people is like, "Why do you wanna talk about this?" And my big thing is I wanna be the person that I needed when I went through
Yes.
everything and I had nobody. I wanna be that person. I wanna make it safe, and I want people to not have that stigma that talking about being hurt or having nightmares makes you weak, makes you all these other things when it's human. You'd have to
Right.
be an absolute psychopath to respond day after day after day to seeing some of the horrific things that we witness without it affecting you. And people don't think of that. And I was reading different studies, and I know the numbers change depending on what study I've read or the location of the study. But on average, one of the studies that I read said that an average person within their lifespan will have approximately 4 traumatic incidents in their life, whether it's losing a loved one, divorce, it varies. The average police officer in a 20-year career will bear witness to over 800 traumatic incidents.
Holy crap.
So when you think about the weight,
Yeah.
that, and then a
Yeah.
lot of people, like, when you're married and you have children and you just responded to a fatality and you saw, horrible things, you're not going to go home and talk about it at the supper table with your wife and children. So you
I
keep
was
it inside.
gonna say yeah, how do you not bring that home? I
Well,
mean,
you
you
got
can't.
mhm. And that's why parents policing, like I may met people who have had parents who are police officers who say, "I don't know my dad. He'd come home from work and he'd go downstairs and open a beer and watch TV."
Yeah.
Or, like they just the burden of sharing is so much that they can't, and then they just totally tune out. Like they are a shell of a human that when they're at work, they're high functioning, but as soon
Yeah.
as they're not on the job, they can't function.
Huh. Wow. Yikes. So what legacy, we're talking legacy now, so it must be time to wrap up. What legacy do you hope your work leaves in terms of redefining strength through compassion?
Oh. One, I hope that my speaking will help reduce the stigma around mental health because we all have things that we go through,
Sure.
and being able to talk about it can be the difference in survival for some people. It's not only that, it's a difference in divorce rates, in children having connections with parents. So, my goal is to go into workplaces and talk about these things, regardless of what career you're in, because leadership and communication is top down and bottom up. It needs
Right.
to be at all levels, and we need to know the signs. And I always say, we all know who's been on a bender last night because you can either smell it or they're wearing yesterday's clothing. We see the people who literally eat their emotions, but we don't notice the people who start to disengage, who don't come to coffee anymore, who don't speak up at meetings anymore. And we need to create a place where it's safe to talk, but also we need to create leaders who actually lead. And in my experience, coming from a career where people have ranks, just because you have rank does not make you a leader. Just because you own a company or you're a manager does not make you a leader. I had people who had less rank than I did at certain points who were definitely leaders in my detachment, in my workplace, because they were people who cared, they were people who listened, they were people who worked hard, and they were respected. I know men that I worked with that I respected their rank, but I had zero respect for them as a human being.
Right. For sure. Yeah. Yeah. It's the person, right? It's not the title or
Yeah,
the rank or anything else.
no.
And you are doing such a great job with your speaking engagements. If anybody that's listening to this broadcast, this show, this episode, needs a dynamic, engaging speaker to talk about this kind of stuff, TammyWardSpeaks.com, is that right?
Yes.
Is the website. There will be a link to it in the show notes. Tammy, thank you so much for coming on. I really, really appreciate your viewpoint and your experience and your ability to share that with us and the world.
Thank you. This was fun. We could have talked all day.
Oh, we could have, but there's work to do.
Yes.
Uh, I thank you so much, and I look forward to it. Maybe we could do it again.
Oh, definitely. Anytime.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks.
Human first, before the names, before the labels.
Thank you so much for joining this episode of the Kindness Matters podcast and spending part of your day with me and my guest, Tammy Ward. It's truly appreciated, and the hope is that you're taking something positive and encouraging with you into the rest of your week. If this episode resonated with you at all, please share it with a friend and consider leaving a review or a comment on the episode, wherever you might listen to it. Your feedback helps others find the show and keeps the conversation about kindness going. You're also invited to connect with the community on social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, and YouTube, where more uplifting content and updates are shared. Don't forget to subscribe to the newsletter so you never miss an update, special feature, or new release. And be sure to check out the brand new merch store, where you can pick up some cool Kindness Matters gear that supports the show. And remember, the proceeds from every purchase go to a nonprofit doing good in the world. Both of those links are in the show notes. We'll be back again next week with another inspiring, uplifting episode. But remember, kindness matters, and so do you.